Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here today with our good friend John Cheyenne Wilbur, author of a new book titled Grace Notes. Cheyenne graduated in 1975 from Oberlin College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications, and in 1979 from Princeton Theological Seminary with a Master of Divinity degree. He was ordained a Presbyterian minister and called in as assistant minister to the Westminster Presbyterian Church in Sacramento, California. While at Princeton, the New York Times published an opinion piece of his called "Does Princeton Seminary Need a Shot of the Secular?" This led to an invitation to write an extended piece for the New York Times Magazine. After leaving Westminster Church, he wrote a column for the Sacramento Union called Worship Watch. He stepped off the grid to pursue writing full-time and migrated up to Port Townsend, Washington. Here he was introduced to the great outdoors, originally hailing from the New York City area, and the alternate lifestyle. He pierced his ear, grew out his hair, worked in a collective restaurant, wrote his first book, and continued Worship Watch with the Port Townsend leader. Picking apples in the Okanagan Valley, he squirreled away some cash and headed to the Big Island, Hawaii. There he continued to live off the grid, living in a coffee shack, managing a coffee house, and writing for the West Hawaii Today as an arts critic at large. He returned to the mainland and eventually settled in Seattle and then Los Angeles as an actor, writer, and real estate agent. He's also raising two sons. Grace Notes is his first published book, a 10-year project. You can learn more at his website, johncheyennewilbur.com. So Cheyenne, it's so great to be able to do this interview with you, knowing how long that you've worked on this project and persevered to make it happen.
And I got to throw out the credit to you, Brian, for creating my website, which was how many years ago? But that's
Yeah,
johncheyennewilbur.com. You were the webmaster at the time, so thank you for that.
well, that's thank you, but it was a pleasure of mine.
Hmm, cool.
So, what else would you like people to know about you besides what I kind of touched on?
Just one thing. It's a new wrinkle that ministry has come back into my life. Go figure. At
Wow.
72, I'm like, I can't even call it a career change. It's more like another hyphenate. I'm definitely a hyphenated person, meaning real estate agent, hyphen actor, hyphen writer, now hyphen minister. I'm preaching at a church every other Sunday, and it looks like they might be calling me to be their pastor. It's called,
Wow, good for you.
thank you. It's called Faith Presbyterian Church. It's out in the Valley here in Southern Cal, specifically neighborhood Valley Village, which is near Studio City in North Hollywood.
Hmm.
And the other thing connected to that ministry is I'm in a 2-year training to be a spiritual director.
Hmm.
And that's a kind of a niche sort of thing, and I won't go explain that too much. But anyway, both of those are exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, there's several of the other author friends of mine that have been spiritual directors too.
Oh,
Gone through
wow.
that training and, have an active business in some cases or just, volunteer work or what have you. So that seems to be, generally speaking, a kind of a growing need.
Absolutely. I mean, no question, when that Pew annual survey in religious behavior in America comes out every year, it substantiates that about, I think, 80% of the respondents say that they describe themselves as spiritual.
But nuns, you know,
And the nuns,
NONES, right?
sure, because that's the whole other point to it is that less and less people are members of a church or some type of house of worship. Now, that could also be argued that we're in a transitional period. For the last 5 years, those numbers have changed, plateaued, even where some people are talking about another great awakening happening in America.
Hmm, hmm. Well, before we get into your book, I'd like to explore some of your earlier life because it was obviously very fascinating. First, why did you decide to go to seminary?
Uh, and yeah, it's definitely not a typical life story. I guess, the seminary decision was coming on the heels of working in politics for a couple of
Hmm,
years that culminated in a presidential campaign. We're talking 1976. I was working for Morris Udall, which was sort of the sweetheart of the liberal press, as it's now described.
Hmm.
And then this guy, Jimmy Carter, came out of the blue, and the rest is history. So I was pretty burned out by that experience. That was about my third political campaign I'd worked on. So on an exterior basis, it could have been that, not coulda, I wanted to go for the big campaign of all. And I wanted to become I wanted to join the God campaign. And I should say it was in my blood.
Hmm.
Both of my parents were ordained ministers, though neither of them really had a pulpit, as it were. My grandfather on my dad's side did, and he was a preacher his entire life. So it was in there. But on the interior side, I wanted to go to seminary just to feel safer about life. And I'll keep that simple. I just
Hmm.
felt like the
Hmm.
solution there was to be closer to God.
Hmm. Hmm. But then after a few years, you just, oh, being a pastor, as you said, then you decided not to. So what drove that decision?
Well, exactly right. And the irony, I mean, let me first place this, like the whole, you read my nice bio and thank you for that. But really underneath that is the faith journey. And let's just say my faith has never been a strong one, but I don't think I'm too unusual in that regard. So let's just say too that when I showed up in a plum job as an assistant minister in a very distinguished church in Sacramento called Westminster Presbyterian Church, they had thousands of members. Of course, it was another one that was losing them in droves. And I arrived as on the outside, everything looked great. Graduate of Princeton Seminary in this plum job. On the inside, I was a very troubled
Hmm.
young man.
Hmm.
And I was very angry and I was very not happy. So I spent about 5 years there, really in a lifestyle that just could not be sustained. I mean, I was acting out, I was staying out late as young people in their, I was 26. I mean, really, that now I kind of hold the belief that it is really, I feel like almost not possible to be an ordained minister in your 20s. You really got to
Hmm.
get some life experience under your belt.
Hmm.
But let's just say, I mean, I was staying out late, partying, recreational drugs, things like that, showing up in the pulpit, just praying that I wouldn't soil my pants
Hmm.
as I'm trying to just behave in the exterior mode mask of,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm here and we're all being devout and let's just worship God. So therapy was a big part of that journey. I do feel like the faith journey has three phases. There's the childhood acceptance of how you grow up. Then there's that deconstruction
Yeah.
period. And in therapy mode, it's called individuating, where you
Hmm.
really have to reject the powers that be, i.e. your parents, i.e. the tribe you grew up with, and you really have to find your own way. And for the third uh, um, mode of the faith journey, which is reconstruction, where we do need to be part of a tribe. We do need to be, in a Christian sense, part of a church. But the deconstruction thing, just to kind of pinpoint it, the image of God for me changed.
Hmm.
And that pivoted on a profound experience where I literally heard the voice of God
Hmm.
at a particular moment saying, "How long will you wait to receive my love?"
Hmm.
And
Wow.
that spun into motion a
Hmm.
180-degree pivot on the image of God from taskmaster,
Hmm.
where he was the boss, I'm the employee. He's telling me, you need to be a minister to be a good person. And I'm going, well, I want to be a good person, so I'll do it. But the interior part was completely not ready for that. And here was this new image of a voice, let's say at that moment, saying, I just want to love you.
Hmm.
Why don't you accept it? And so almost becoming, to kind of paint with crayons here, from a masculine sort of Old Testament
Mm,
alpha male to a more maternal feminine image, if you will, of somebody who just wants to love you
mm,
and to do that wants you to be happy, wants you to have joy. And so I started pivoting in that, like basic question, am I happy? No, I'm
mm,
not.
mm.
Is it this ministry? It's not making me happy. Well, what makes you happy? I like to write. I
Mm.
love writing. I had had all this kind of success with it. So I gave myself permission with the authority of God. That's the irony. To, well, then just go do it. You only got one shot at this life. Go do it. So that's why I left the ministry to write.
Wow, goodness. But then, you lived for several years, off the grid, right? Which,
Yes.
I've never done anything like that. What was that like?
Well, again, it's flying with a different, uh, uh, what do you call it? Those GPSs,
Mm,
a different GP navigational system. Like the first navigational system with the sort of the father, God the Father thing was I could see my whole life, you do your education, you get your degrees, you get a career, you advance in your career, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you become a grandfather, you have a pension, you die. I could see it to the end. It was an interstate highway. This whole new thing to live with a loving God that just simply just wants you to be you, whoever that is. And that is the Joseph Campbell line. The privilege of a lifetime is to be who you are. And
mm,
I do firmly, strongly believe part of that belief system is that there is gifts that each of us carry, and it is really our stewardship of discovering. It's not just random selection of who do you want to be in life, which I'm trying to give to my kids, but I don't know if I'm getting there because they're all into AI, and that's sort of the place to go for the
Well,
moment.
I mean, so I grew up as an engineer too, right? I mean, in
Yeah.
technology and stuff. So, I don't see it as an either or. But, that's an individual
Okay.
kind of thing too.
I get you. I get you. So, I mean, I guess that, Brian, refresh my memory. What's the question
Well,
again?
no, what it was like to live off the grid.
Oh, the grid. So yeah, the Port Townsend thing was then flying with this navigation system where you can't see what tomorrow is, much less what the next year or 5 years. And I saw this flyer about a writer's workshop in Port Townsend in Sacramento. I went. I'd never been happier. And again, more radical questions. Do you need to live in Sacramento? You're not a minister anymore. No, I don't. Could you move to Port Townsend? Yes, I could. Radical choice. Let's do it. Of course, my parents thought I had lost my mind. I mean, and there was definite strong pushback, if not threatening, to come out and just drag me back home to New Jersey. They didn't do that, thank God. But I kind of, when you have, where you believe that you have God on your side, that's your trump card to any authority figure on earth. And so up there, I had never experienced, and I, just to be blunt, it was kind of like the erotic God. Now, I don't know if that's a phrase that anybody else uses, and I don't mean that because we think with the word erotic just something sexual. It's not. It's getting your body involved with your belief. And this was finding God in nature, God in silence. Like I had never heard such silence. My hometown in New Jersey was a landing pattern for Newark Airport. And on a good day, we still incinerated garbage
Yeah, yeah.
with these big fires. And if it blew the right direction, I would smell it. And I actually liked it. The smell of, burning garbage. But to have the pure air and then to
Yeah.
have, so it's kind of God in silence and God in the Milky Way. I'd never
Mm,
seen the Milky Way, not to
mm.
mention the Northern Lights. So it was a complete body transformation.
Wow.
And to continue with this kind of mystical path almost, to have this increasing personal relationship with a living God.
Wow. Wow. Well, good for you. So now let's get to the book. Grace Notes. How did that come about? What caused you to do all that work
Right.
to come up with a book?
Well, I guess I should first say that this is my third book. This is the first to be published. So I meant it and I did it. I was writing all the time. I actually wrote a book right while I was a minister. It was called The Tit Man. And again, that's a real word. It means something about a mouse. I forget now. I think there's a titmouse. But
Sure.
yeah, okay, we'll take the ambiguity there. But I got picked up by a literary agent immediately. We were not able to sell the book, so that got dropped. I wrote a second book after I left the ministry up in Port Townsend. I was not able to find an agent for that, and so that got behind. So here's this one, and it started as a memoir, really, and then it sort of morphed into where I know I'm a good writer. Now, can you tell a good story? Really, the book came about with the reader in mind.
Hmm.
What would optimize the reader experience? And I am not a fan of biopic movies, biopictures. I just think, okay, there's the guy's life. It was kind of a sludge, but a well-crafted story slash movie, that's something that can just rock your world. That's what I wanted from this. It's got three acts. Each one has a climactic conclusion. Each successive act builds on the previous act, hopefully to like bring that third act to a life and death stakes climactic close.
Hmm. So
And
is that why
just
you decided to make it fiction instead of a memoir?
precisely right. I
Huh.
realized that my story, yeah, it's got the elements, but hey, if we tweak this, which it didn't really happen that way, but you know what? That makes for a better story. And when I finally gave myself permission, go for it, go for it. It was like, this is frickin' fun. So I just turned it into, like whatever it needed to be. So that's
Huh.
a cool freedom when you're finally writing fiction and going, hey, it can be whatever. I don't have to be like, beholden to how it
There
really
you
happened.
go. There you go. Freedom. So why the title Grace Notes?
Music is my blood. And yes, there's multi levels to that, which also why the piano is there. That's actually echoing a dream that he has later on in the book. And it is actually from where I went to college, Oberlin College. It's a
I
rehearsal.
remember that. Yeah.
But Grace Notes started before the book started in that it was an idea of kind of echoing Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Hmm.
And to have Grace Notes be a collection of vignettes of God moments where you just felt this presence or something steered that moment.
Hmm.
And it was, you just attribute it to God. But then I carried it into this book experience because I thought the more I liked the metaphor that we're all grace notes in the majestic God symphony, that this whole life experience is a symphony. And it is amazing the harmony out there, the trees, I mean, how much we depend on each other and this, that, and the other. And that we're here and that grace note has that feeling of, am I expendable or am I essential?
Hmm. Hmm.
And just keeping that kind of tension there is really
Interesting.
one of the sort of leitmotifs of the book.
Wow. Wow. And so would you say that there's a particular theme to the book that you were trying to achieve?
Well, yeah, um, basically the theme is how do you find God?
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
do you get that real sense of rock solid? I know he is there, the almighty mystery. And the theme then is God is in the shadow.
Hmm.
That's a Jungian term, that there's the light and the shadow, the light and the dark, and then there's the masculine and the feminine, and we're in the middle there. But the dark is, or almost by definition, the shadow is your blind spot, what you're not aware of. And it is definitely important to try and find what that is. And it's the secrets that cannot be spoken,
Mm.
that we all carry. And in therapy language, it could be then recovering memories. It could be moving through trauma that's been repressed. That you work out survivor skills, but as an adult, you realize these are not serving me well. Why are my relationships constantly breaking down? Why am I like pissing people off or whatever? So it's in the darkness that we discover God. God doesn't come to us in our great sunny days because who needs him? And it's like everything's fine. Well, I'm doing great. Why would I need somebody like him? But it's in those moments where life is collapsing all around you. You've been given a terminal diagnosis. You've been fired. You've been told by your partner of 50 years she wants out. It's in those moments that God can, and that's the silver lining. It's in those catastrophic failures that we can find God and hold on for dear life, literally. And I'm also echoing, let's say, Richard Rohr, I'm a big fan of, and he has a book that got me through my divorce called Falling Upwards.
Yes,
I
I
love that
quote from that a
title.
lot.
And that's his whole point, because really what's happening is the exterior veneer that I've got this, I've got life covered, man, I am success, is shattered. Now what do you got left? And this is finding your true self. And it's only finding your true self. So it's parallel progressions of finding out who you are truly with finding God, because
Mm.
that's where it becomes one, because you are God. I mean, if we're part of that Trinitarian dynamic, the Holy Spirit is within us. So God, I like
Yeah.
to kind of put it in dynamic terms. It's above God, it's beside me, Jesus, it's inside me, the Holy Spirit.
Amen. So, without revealing too much, is there any little snippet of a story that you could share with us from the book?
Well, yes, I got it right here. So
Good.
this is uh, Jerry Cradleman is the protagonist, and so he's got a lot that looks like me, and that's the truth. Anyway, he feels like he's been called to go to Jerusalem for Christmas, but he's very torn. Like, this is crazy. I'm going to Jerusalem. He's living in Port Townsend. I mean, that's crazy. I'm going because I heard something in my head. I mean, people are going to think I'm nuts. What's up? Maybe I am nuts. So he goes to a psychic to try and get assistance on which way to go. So here we go. Jerry trekked to the edge of town. Down a craggy dirt road, he found the trailer. The psychic Maggie only accepted walk-ins. Jerry crossed his fingers, hoping his timing was right. He knocked. The door opened. She stood in its shadow. With a husky voice, she said, "Enter." Stale tobacco pierced Jerry's nostrils. When his eyes adjusted, all the blinds were drawn. He noticed her moo-moo emblazoned with small black and white cows, smiling cows, some upside down, some right side up, floating about in a blue sky with puffy white clouds. Her hair was a rat's nest, dyed raven too long ago, white roots showing, her face wobbly, her skin mottled, her eyes intense. A black cat dashed out of the living room and skittered down the hallway. "Have a seat," she motioned to everywhere. "I gotta grab my Coke." Jerry figured she meant the living room, so he navigated past a stack of Life magazines with John F. Kennedy's grin on top, a stack of National Geographics poised just right yet ready to topple any moment, and around a third stack of Port Townsend leaders. On the other side of this printed material wall, he discovered a scratched-up lazy boy with a tawdry coffee table in front of it. An abalone ashtray crammed with cigarette butts graced the table. Against the opposite wall, a portable TV with a rabbit ear antenna was perched on a collapsible table. Small wads of aluminum foil were skewered by the antenna. Seeing no other chair, he seated himself on the floor beside the lazy boy. Across the hallway at the kitchen entrance, he could see grocery bags set in a row, one full of empty cat food tins, another TV dinner trays, and another Coke cans. Soon Maggie returned with a fresh cigarette and a can of Coke. She parked herself on the lazy boy, then turned her gaze on Jerry as if noticing something out of place. After a thorough once-over, she homed in on his eyes and smiled. "You seem troubled," she cooed. Jerry nodded. "I'm a little embarrassed to talk about it because it sounds crazy." "Oh, honey, don't you worry." With a glide of her hand, she acknowledged her surroundings and let out an explosive laugh. Jerry stared at the jiggling cows. He got her point and relaxed. "See, I've been on this spiritual journey," he continued. "Good for you." "Yeah, except I feel like it's time to get back to the business of life." "Right, business of life." "I thought you could tell me what to do." "Me?" She let out another ferocious laugh, smoke spewing out of her mouth and nose, flesh jiggling every which way. "Well, I feel like God called me to Jerusalem, but I'm not sure if it was really God or just me." "Okay. And word is you have the gift of discernment." "Yeah. So like I said, I thought you could tell me who's calling." "Well, let's just take a look," she said. Hand, her palm opened out big as a helipad. He landed his, and immediately a jolt of electricity coursed through his arm and body. She turned it over and flattened out his palm. You have a very pronounced destiny line." After a long drag on her cigarette, she stubbed it out. Somehow finding space in the ashtray, she placed a notepad on her lap, tightly held Jerry's hand, readied her Bic pen, and closed her eyes. After a while, she sprang to life and wrote furiously for the next 10 minutes. Then she slumped back into her chair and dropped into a deep sleep. Jerry waited, not moving. Just when he thought he should leave, she jerked up, grabbed a cigarette, and lit up. She exhaled a stream of smoke and said, "Sorry." "What?" "Shit." "What about it?" "Too much shit." "What do you mean?" "That's all I see. Just a bunch of deep doo-doo." "So what should I do?" "I don't know." "Why?" "Because it hasn't happened yet," she said. Like a volcanic eruption, thick, phlegm-filled laughter exploded. Her cigarette hand waved helplessly around, sparks and ash flying. And this time Jerry joined in. Yes, it was funny, all of it. Talking with God, going to Jerusalem, like the fate of the universe depended on it. It was really, really funny. They laughed until the tears flowed. "Oh boy, that's a good one," she said, wiping her eyes. She took 3 quick drags on her cigarette. "Look," she said, through exhaling smoke, leaning forward. "You're fighting for your life. I get it. However, there's something big coming up, and it's not Jerusalem. It's some big shit. It's so big I can't see past it. As for going there, there's only one person who can make that decision. You," she mouthed soundlessly as she blew a perfect smoke ring his way.
Oh my goodness, that's just amazing. I love your writing. I can
That's
certainly
it.
visualize her and the situation there. That was really
Uh,
great writing and storytelling.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know that there are some painful aspects, described in the book and in your life. And did you find some authors that I talked with, they've written about the pain and it's been very therapeutic for them. Did you find it that way, or did you find it was just more painful to revisit things?
Therapeutic. Definitely. Definitely. There's parts I can't read without crying.
Wow.
And I knew as I was writing it for the first time, I'd be writing through tears. I could not even see the words anymore. I knew this is the sweet spot.
Mm,
Because again, the encouragement from writer mentors I've had is write what you don't think you can speak about.
mm, mm.
That's where it makes you uncomfortable. That's where you need to go. And
Wow.
that's a lot of this book. And yes, it was cathartic for sure.
I mean, that sounds very much like Buechner, right? His comments about tears.
Hmm. Keep
Same kind
going
of
because I
thing.
know you're a master on Buechner.
Yeah.
What do you
Well, I mean, if he just said something along the lines that, if you encounter tears, pay attention to it, whatever it is that's going on, and cause you to do that. Because, there's some deep meaning underneath it that you need to explore. I mean, I was
Interesting.
paraphrasing that last part, but
Got it. No, I get it. Thank you. Good stuff.
so I'd like to read from a couple of the endorsements for your book. This one is
Sure.
from Chuck Appleby, who says in part that the book is told through a taut literary style and a playwright's sense of scene that keeps the reader on edge. So, as we talked about before, you've got an acting career, and it sounds as though that's influenced your writing quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I could see the scene before I had the words, and I
Mm,
would just be transcribing what I was seeing. It's very filmic. I really want it to become a film.
mm,
So how that will happen, I don't know. But yeah, it definitely the acting. I mean, because acting, especially since most of my career is stage acting, is dialogue, is, concise, lively, where you have to identify the character by how that character speaks and keep it that way. So it's not all just, oh, that just sounds like you with different names attached to it. It's got to really have some development going on. So yeah, the acting was tremendously
mm,
helpful for
mm.
sure.
So here's another one from Dan Morgan, who says in part, grace shows up in the opportunity to address truths that have been buried but not forgotten by the psyche or the soul. This is a tale of liberation through courage. So would you like to comment on that observation?
Absolutely true. And that kind of makes me think of that bestseller, The Body Keeps the Score.
Mm,
And I think preceding him is Alice Miller, and I don't know why she doesn't come up more. And she, I think, wrote a book called The Body Never Lies. And yeah, your trauma is, he uses the word psyche, but I guess I would kind of forward slash and add the body. The body keeps all that. And yeah, so that's back to that theme I was talking about. God is
mhm,
in the shadow.
mhm.
And it's like for us to do the archaeological digging to get in there, because it's really weird how there's an intelligence in you and me that we don't have access to that decides just simple bodily functions when you
Sure.
want to cough, when you want to throw up, when you want to use the toilet, or more, like we're just like, who's in charge here? And adding to those functions, it decides not to let you know certain things that happen to you.
Mhm.
It decides that it's in, like, okay, I'm back to the physical thing. I keep getting spasms in my lower back. It's taken me years to realize those spasms are trying to protect my vertebrae from being shoved out of alignment. And
Mhm.
there's like such a thin disc between L4 and L5. It is really prone to spasming a lot. So
Mhm.
that's the same thing. I know that it's depriving me of those memories, thinking that's what's best, but it's not really when you become an adult. So anyway,
Mhm. So what would you say is like the number one thing you'd want people to take away from the book?
hope.
Hope. Wow.
Hope. Yeah, the number one thing is that to pursue knowing your shadow
Mm.
and that it's not going to kill you. Because I think that's what that protective intelligence thinks it is.
Mm.
I am a facilitator in a grief support group, people who have had traumatic loss, partner of 60 years, a sudden death of a son or a daughter, nothing worse than that, and more. And I've just learned so much from those people going through their grief journey, and that a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to feel in moments of
Mm.
trauma. And
Mm.
that's the goodness of talking therapy, because we get to feel what we wouldn't let ourselves feel when
Mm.
the trauma took place. And then the point of that is that you can move through it. So it won't be debilitating you as much as it does. It won't have the charge as much as it does. And the sort of the image that to me is grounded in Ezekiel in the cave, but it's this fear of going into a dark cave. And that is the suffering that's going to happen by revisiting a trauma or a loss or feeling grief or whatever. It's the feeling it's going to consume me. It's a black hole, which is a literal thing that does get powerful, and you'll never be seen again if you go past the point of no return. You'll be sucked into it and bye-bye now. But that's sort of the counterintuitiveness, like the feeling I have, and I don't have enough to back it up, but instead of running back out of the cave, keep going into the cave deeper and deeper to the point you really have no idea how to get out of there anymore. But that's where this little point of light might be found to get you through it, not to go out back out. And that's using the epiphany journey of the three wise men as sort of the archetype here. That, in other words, they're looking through the darkness of night for hope, and they find that star, and they believe in it, and they follow it. That's what I'm wanting to suggest to any reader of this book. You will get through that dark night of the soul. Hold on to that light, follow it, and you get to the Holy Child, meaning you will find God. But the advice given at that point is do not go back the way you came. And that is true. Because the point being, and so many grief survivors feel this with their friends, the friends going, where's the old Jane that used to be there? I want to see that Jane again. The point of this whole point of this story is I'm not that Jane, and I never will be that Jane again. And if you can't handle that, then I'm afraid we're going to have to part as friends. You know,
Wow.
that's the deal. You can't go back. And that's the James Baldwin opening line in the book that, you know, once you leave home, I forget what it is. If I don't want to take up too much time, but it's like once you leave home, you can't go back. Oh, I know what it is. You don't have a home until you leave it. That's potent right there. You don't have a home until you leave it. And then when you have left it, you never can go back. And that's the faith journey. And that's this book, Grace Notes.
Wow. Wow. Well, good for you. Good for you for making it happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And so, you know, I think I already know the answer to the question of what comes next for you. You know, even though you're in the midst of a big book release, it sounds like certainly being a minister and a spiritual director are both potentially big jobs, right? I mean, time
Yeah,
consuming and meaningful.
true. You know, it's in God's hands in a lot of ways. I mean, maybe they'll call me. I think they will. Maybe they won't. But what they're calling me to is a part-time pastorship, and that's not atypical. So many
Yeah.
churches,
Yeah.
we Presbyterians have lost hundreds of churches, closed their doors. These people once had a congregation of 1,500. They're down to 40. That
Wow.
means I'm preaching to, and this is true, Brian, and it's okay. Last week I preached to 5 people.
Well, there you go. It's a
No,
house church.
but I'm perfectly happy. But the fact is, it's not going to support my life. This is
Sure,
Southern
sure,
Cal. I mean, if we're going to be blunt here, I need at least $100,000 a year. I mean,
sure.
it's absurd. And then I just read an article where somebody in San Francisco is getting almost 200,000 and she's not able to survive.
I read that same article.
It's crazy
Yeah, it's
times,
crazy.
you know? But I mean, if this book goes, I will write another book.
Good for
I mean,
you.
I've got the prequel all in my mind. I know what I want,
Ah,
and I can
wow.
churn it out, I suppose, in a year. And yes, obviously, all those things, geez, where are you going to find the time? And plus, you got to not burn out. So the answer then is, I don't know. I mean, but what's cool is like at 72, instead of like being let out to pasture, I feel like my life is just beginning. And I'm so
Wow.
excited about it. And I feel
That's
like
awesome.
everything that's preceded this is making this moment materialize.
Wow. Well, we should all feel like that at age 72, I think. That's a
Why not?
blessing. That's a real blessing.
Why not? Yeah.
Well, Cheyenne, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your life with us, sharing your book with us. I mean, it's just an outstanding accomplishment,
Thank
and I
you.
really hope that it resonates and helps a ton of people.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Brian. And I'm so grateful for you giving me the time to speak my story. And
Uh,
I appreciate you a
Well, it's
lot.
absolutely my pleasure. Again, the name of the book is Grace Notes. Easy to remember. Go to the website, johncheyennewilbur.com, or I'm sure you can look it up on Amazon too and find it.
Yep.
But John, Cheyenne, thank you so much again, and best wishes with everything.
Thank you.